I'll be back.
What?
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 3 of Half-Ass Movie Reviews. My name is John.
And my name is Matt.
And today, to my surprise and chagrin, we will be talking about Terminator Genisys.
Why you're surprised?
Because I put in 4 movies in there, and I would have expected Terminator Genisys to finish second to last or last.
Interesting.
So I thought by putting Dumb and Dumber in there, that was going to be the runaway.
Yeah, I would think so too. But you know what? I'm not mad.
I know you're not mad. I'm a little upset. So we'll get into that in a second. But before we dive into anything, if you are a fan of 4K Blu-ray reviews, podcasts just like this, movie reviews, a little bit of tech and game reviews along the way, nothing helps out more than by you liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and looking us up on podcasts, and then giving us 5-star rating, because we are both 5-star men. 3.5 for Matt. 5 stars for me.
And again, like always in the beginning of the podcast, if you hear that fan noise, that is just the heat here. Again, we don't shoot in a proper studio. We're shooting in my basement, and there's no heat in the basement except for that pellet stove, and for it to work, there is a blower motor, and that is what you hear. So we apologize up front for that, but without that, we would be pretty cold.
We live in the Northeast, and we are in the middle of a cold front.
Oh boy, front coming our way. Look out.
And it is very cold outside, so I would like to stay warm during this.
Yes, I would like to stay warm.
Because we are both just 2 wild and crazy guys, so we don't really have an official podcast studio. This is the best we could do.
Yes.
So anyway, let's dive into this piece of junk. So Terminator Genisys.
Okay, here we go.
Terminator Genisys came out originally July 1st, 2015. So if your 4th of July weekend in 2015 and you went and saw Terminator Genisys, I feel sorry for you. So,
well,
this is, I'm sure you did, right?
You know, I actually have a funny story. I did see this in theaters. Okay. However, it definitely was nowhere near around 4th of July. It was probably later. I was hanging out with a friend, or it was my buddy Richie and Steph, and we couldn't really find anything to do, and it was as hot as hell out. So we were like, all right, let's just go see a movie. And I was like, oh shit, that new Terminator movie's out. And I'm a huge Terminator fan. So I said, let's go check it out. Let's watch it. And, you know, upon my first watch, I was into it for the most part. It's my biggest issue with this movie is the guy who plays John Connor.
Jason Clarke.
Yeah, and it's not that he himself did a bad job. It's just, maybe it is. I don't know. But, you know, I couldn't see him as John Connor. I didn't like the direction they took John Connor, really. You know, it's an interesting take on John Connor, to say the least. Just something about his face just...
He does have a pretty soft face, if I'm being honest. So, but I actually really like Jason Clarke. I told you he's actually been in a few movies that I really enjoyed, especially Chappaquiddick, which he plays he plays Ted Kennedy in that. So that's a really good movie.
Okay. Yeah, you know, it's hit or miss, because we've had how many John Connors at this point?
Well, we've never had a consistent John Connor.
None, right?
No, never. No John Connor has ever played it more than once.
No, and I like them all up until here, which is strange. Because I think they all, like Terminator 3, I forget his name, Nick something, right?
I think his name is Nicholas Hoult, if I'm correct.
Maybe. I don't remember. Terminator 3, that was believable. Christian Bale as an older John Connor, I could see that.
This is John Connor.
That works.
That, I think, was the best casting they actually had for it.
And then we get here to Terminator Genisys.
Nick Stahl.
Nick Stahl. And it was Nick something.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But, yeah, I didn't really believe that was John Connor.
Well, I actually thought that he wasn't that bad, because I was paying attention to him because you specifically said you didn't like him. And then, honestly, Jai Courtney plays Kyle Reese, and he's just doing such a horrible job throughout this entire movie that it drove me nuts. And the Terminator franchise loves to play with, like, up-and-coming actors. Like, they did this in Terminator Salvation with Sam Worthington. He was the new hotness. everyone wants the new hotness, and they're throwing lead actors in these movies. And Jai Courtney, they did the same thing. He's just showing up as the lead in all these movies, and he's not good.
Well, let's get that out on the table. As much as we love Terminator, I don't think it's the biggest franchise where they have the most money to play with the budget.
Well, this budget actually, funny you should say that they don't have enough money to play with the budget. This budget was $155 to $158 million, according to Wikipedia.
I'm sure most of that went to Arnold because he was here.
Yeah, and it couldn't because the CGI was another awful thing in this movie.
I don't think the CGI was that bad.
Okay, well, there's actually, you know what? It was hit or miss. There are some scenes in here. We'll get into that in a little bit.
There was no scenes where I said, oh shit, that looks bad.
Really?
It just didn't catch me.
The helicopter scene?
No, not off the top of my head.
That helicopter flew down, almost hit the ground, and then as it's hovering above the ground, you telling me that looked clean and clear to you and like believable.
I've seen worse.
Okay, all right. Well, anyway, this movie made $440 million at the box office, so technically not a bomb. Actually, semi-successful, but the critical rating of 26% on Rotten Tomatoes made them leave this movie behind and then reboot it again with Dark Fate. So it was not received well. And another thing about this, I actually like Emilia Clarke in this as Sarah Connor. I didn't think she did a bad job, but my big complaint is her hair.
What's wrong with her hair?
It doesn't feel like 1984 hair. Linda Hamilton had that, blown out 80s hair.
Because she wasn't in 1984.
No, they were in 1984 in the beginning. When they first meet her, it's 1984. Then they go to 2017. Remember?
You're right.
So they're in 1984.
No, they didn't travel back to 1984?
They did. All right. The movie starts off in the future, then they go to 1984, and then from 1984 they go to 2017.
Right, that was the time travel. Okay, yep. I thought they went back to 1984 for something.
Now, they never go back. They start there. Well, they start in the future.
So that's where Kyle... Yeah, so it plays a lot like Part 1.
This movie is structured a lot like Part 1, and they did do some cool callbacks, and they, J.K.
That's the best part. I wish, honestly, the entire movie was in 1984, but different. You know what I'm saying? Like, they went a different route, and then they did what they had to do in 1984. That would have been cooler, because, again, maybe that's just what we love about T1, just that old, and we're just nostalgic for that, but I thought the 1984 scenes were the best in the movie, for me, at least.
I don't know what my favorite scenes in the movie were. I actually thought they did a pretty good job with the one scene in the middle when they're on the bridge in San Francisco. I was like, okay, this action looks pretty good.
And when they fall onto the freeway.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome. Actually, I thought they did a pretty good job. With
that CGI is pretty cool. When I think it was a Tahoe or an Escalade gets like cut in half.
Yeah,
or something that just takes off the whole side of the truck.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. I like that.
No, it had some good. Like this movie, I gave it a 2 out of 5 star rating on Letterboxd, so a 4 out of 10 film. I thought so. It had some good ideas, and some ideas they would reuse in Dark Fate.
Right. Yes, I remember saying I can't off the top of my head again remember exactly what those were, but I was like, oh, this was.
Well, the aging Terminator thing they used in Dark Fate, how the skin ages, but the skeleton stays the same.
Yes, there was something else in Dark Fate.
One thing I noticed is right in the trailers for both is the windshield shot with the liquid Terminator going out of the windshield onto the hood of the car.
Well, they started that in T2 when it goes through the helicopter window.
That's true, but now they just use it, I guess, every time there's a T-1000, which is cool. There's a T-1000 in this movie.
And actually, speaking of the T-1000, there's a consistency error there, I think. Now, I thought Robert Patrick was the model of the T-1000.
Yes.
So now we have this guy. So was he shape-shifting to somebody that that could be it.
Possibly, maybe, I don't know, but this one was already there.
Right, so we don't know.
No, we don't know. We didn't watch this one
They couldn't afford Robert Patrick, basically.
Yeah, they would have had to DH him like they had to DH Arnold, and I'm pretty sure they weren't willing to do that twice.
Okay. So
anyway, you ready to start this film off?
Well, we sort of did, but sure.
We got to start off with the opening. So this movie starts off with some narration over the top, and this time not done by Linda Hamilton, but done by Kyle Reese of Jai Courtney.
Before they died, my parents told me stories of how the world once was.
Taking us through his life. He was born after the apocalypse, after Judgment Day, so he's only lived in the past, and he's talking about his relationship with John Connor, who taught them to fight. He taught them to believe, because they were down and out until they found John Connor, and he trusts John Connor with his life.
That's about accurate. You know, that tracks.
You know, in the beginning of the movie, they're just heading off. They have found the time displacement equipment, Skynet's last hope. Skynet has been defeated. They even say it. Skynet is down. But their last-ditch effort, they are going to send a T-800. The T-800 we saw in 1984's Terminator, the best model of the T-800. In my opinion. They send him back through. They get there. John Connor and the crew get there. He's already gone. And they're like, we got to send someone. Everyone volunteers. But Kyle Reese says, send me. John Connor, which I had a question at first, but they answered this pretty quick, was John Connor did know that Kyle Reese was his father already.
Right, but he didn't tell Kyle.
He didn't tell Kyle. He didn't tell anyone else. But that's why I was like, why did he make sure to like really pick on Kyle? Everyone volunteered, but Kyle was the last one. He's like, all right, why do you want to go? And I was like,
Sir, let me save her.
all right, makes a little bit more sense now.
Right.
So they send him through, and this is right away where my flow starts. So once we get to 1984,
well, you forgot a key moment here.
Oh, well, yes. Right as they're going through, we see Matt Smith, who many people might recognize from Doctor Who or Morbius from last year, another bad movie. Or, more specifically, recently, another Game of Thrones guy from House of the Dragon. He's on that right now, Matthew Smith, but this was him in 2015, so he pops up, he grabs John Connor from behind, and we don't see anything. You thought you couldn't get away with it, like, you didn't think it would be that easy, would you?
Yeah, and then it cuts, we're like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, we don't know anything.
Right.
And Kyle
But
Reese,
they pay that off later.
They do. Kyle Reese, you know, he's a little suspicious, but he lands in the future. But Arnold, like I said, got there first.
Yes.
And here's your first continuity error from Terminator 1. In Terminator 1, the ground doesn't make the hole in it when he goes through. The ground stays the same.
No, it doesn't. They did not have the technology
No.
in 1980. Well, in 84.
Yeah, I know they didn't. We're recreating exactly what happened that day, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, it happened in T2, just because Cameron figured out how to do it.
Yeah, but
So he probably wanted it in T1.
Oh, he wanted a lot. He wanted the T-1000 in T1 also.
So, that's, that doesn't bother me.
Okay. All right. We should probably mention that this film isn't directed by Mr. James Cameron. This film it's directed by Alan Taylor, who's given you a lot of great movies, including the worst MCU movie, Thor: The Dark World, which Matt, again, disagrees with me.
I wouldn't say it's the worst, but it's not the best.
And so anyway, once Arnold gets there, we see his naked body looking over the L.A. observatorium there. He walks over to the bullies, and this really is the first time I got aggravated.
Nice night for a walk.
Wash day tomorrow. Nothing clean, right?
It's because why didn't you just reuse the scenes from the original Terminator with Bill Paxton and the boys? Why did you have to recast them and then put new clothes on them? Because A, it looks like a shitty cosplay version of the clothes from T1.
Yes.
It looks awful.
I agree with that. I do agree with that. It would have been nice to recycle the scenes like that, but I guess it would have looked pretty different.
It would have. I'm guessing for the same reason maybe we don't have a 4K. They couldn't clean it up to blend in with everything else that they were going to shoot because they have to they have to show the same stuff, but then they also have to shoot, like you just said, I guess it would look different.
But it didn't play out exactly.
It did.
Right? It didn't play out exactly how
Well,
it did
no,
in T1.
because once he gets over to them, that's when Pops shows up.
Yeah, and he screws up the timeline.
Yeah.
Well, he screws up what we know of T1.
Yep, he's like, I've been waiting for you. And we get this awesome Undertaker-like entrance where he throws his hood off and he starts just blasting away at him. And this scene is awesome.
And we don't see Dong.
We don't see Dong. No, they got it. It's a PG-13 movie. It's another thing that's frustrating.
No Arnold Dong.
Nope, we do not get to see his mushroom clip, and that is unfortunate. Is it the tip? It's not the clip?
Do you have a mushroom clip? What is a mushroom clip?
I've heard it in a Sublime song.
And then she pulled out my mushroom tip. And when it came out, it went drip, drip, drip.
Mushroom tip, he says.
Okay.
And she pulls out my mushroom tip, and it goes drip, drip, drip. Yeah.
Oh.
Tip.
I thought he was saying clip.
The head of your dick looks like a mushroom tip.
Well, now I know.
You're an idiot. All right, anyway.
Anyway, enough about Arnold's mushroom, whatever you want to call it.
Tip.
So once him and the other
Jesus
T-800 who
Christ.
came when Sarah Connor, we find out, was 9 years old, and Sarah Connor, like I said, is played by Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones, and she's also just like from
There's
Game of
no way you thought it was clip.
I swear to God, my whole life. You can't move past it. You're
No,
looking
that's
at it.
insane.
That's what it sounds like to my ears.
Not even close. But all right, go ahead.
Anyway, so Lita Headley played Sarah Connor on the Sarah Connor Chronicles. She was also in Game of Thrones.
The girl in Genisys was from The TV show?
No, she's from Game of Thrones. They both. So two people from Game of Thrones. Two people sat on the Iron Throne are from Terminator. Both of them played Sarah Connor. It's pretty weird.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Fun fact.
Fun fact.
Fun fact.
Fun fact.
Two people from Game of Thrones who sat on the Iron Throne were Sarah Connor. It's ironic. And then, Linda Hamilton was in Beauty and the Beast. I don't see a tie in there, but anyway.
No, that doesn't add up. But
Doesn't track, right? Well, anyway, once they get back in time, and we should note also that Kyle Reese did some of the scenes that we saw in the first Terminator 2, like he got the homeless guy's pants, and the bum's voice was definitely a little bit different here.
Did you just see a bright light?
Hey, buddy, you just see a bright light.
Yeah.
And then fucking, what's his name? So, but this time, when the cop comes up to him, he asks him the date, we find out, oh shit, this guy is a T-1000. Now, I wasn't sure if he was a T-1000 at first. Like, he did turn to liquid metal, but I thought maybe it's like a different model. I wasn't 100% sure on that.
Okay.
So, anyway, they get into a fight almost at the exact same time that Arnold is getting into a fight with himself.
Yes.
And he takes this Terminator down pretty easily. And this is one thing that, from the first Terminator, the only Terminator in that movie is the T-800. You spend a whole movie trying to take him down. It's crazy to watch him get taken down this easily.
Right, well, same technology, had the jump on him.
Well, they had would they say how many years? 1973, so 11 years they had on him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because he got there, the first model got there when Sarah was 9 years old. So she's well trained now, not like she was in the first Terminator. She's well aware. It's like T2 Sarah Connor.
Just about.
And I think Emilia Clarke nails the voice cadence of this. She does a good job.
Yeah, I was happy with her. Again, I'm not a fan of when actors change, and I don't like change. Like, I would have loved it to be Linda Hamilton and Michael Biehn as Kyle Reese, but that's not what we got. And I think for what we got, it's not bad. Again, just John Connor is my issue.
I can understand that. Jason Clarke, like I said, I didn't mind him as John Connor when we get to him showing back up. I didn't mind that.
He reminds me of like Bill Murray.
The face, yes, because he's got those round features to his face. He's got the curly hair. Yeah, he doesn't look like somebody who would be an action star. I get that. Jai Courtney does look like somebody who would be an action star. I just don't think he can act. I think Jason Clarke is a good actor. Jai Courtney, every time he would speak, I was like just trying not to pull my hair out. The guy just delivers lines like literally he's like reading him, like it's like its first run through. It's horrible, and every time he's talking, I don't
have a radar for that.
Well, I've seen some Jai Courtney movies, although he's good as Boomerang, like I said in the Suicide Squad movies. The chase ensues. We finally, Kyle Reese, Emilia Clarke, Kyle Reese, Sarah Connor, then Pops get together because Emilia Clarke likes to call him Pops. Basically a father figure to her.
Because that's what he is.
Yeah, they have a good relationship.
Yep.
He's cracking jokes. And this is something, again, like I was saying, they would reuse in Terminator Dark Fate, is the fact that this Terminator, he can age. His skin ages, but his body doesn't. Everything underneath, because it's real human skin, so that's gonna age. So he's old, but he's not obsolete, and that's a running joke throughout this movie because it's a summer blockbuster. It's not like what the roots of Terminator were. It's a dark movie. We have to make jokes throughout this movie because why not? So Arnold's basically there to crack jokes, and he really only shows up to do the action scenes, and he does a good job in those, because the action scenes, I think, are the best part of this movie. They eliminate the T-1000 pretty quick, and this added some T-1000 lore. I didn't know that after the T-800 was dead, that the T-1000 can just walk over, drop some T-1000 juice on his ear, and he'll come back to life. Saw him do that.
Right, yes.
Never saw him do that, although
Terminator 3 was where we first saw something of the sort. She was controlling a ton of machines and cars and all that shit.
And I just answered my own question when I said it out loud, because in Terminator 2, it's just them, and the T-800 never dies to the point where you'd be smart enough to bring him back to life.
Right, yeah, because that was who he was fighting the entire time.
Yeah, so he wouldn't think to do it. So I guess it can add up. We just never saw it before. So I guess it's just adding on to the T-1000.
Yeah, I don't bump into that either.
But they eliminate him pretty quick, honestly.
Yeah, with the acid.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Which looked like a shot right out of T2.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Except the CGI of him dying looks way worse in this movie than it does in Terminator 2 from 1991. Like in Terminator 1, I mean, in Terminator 2, we see when he's dying, you know, he's got his hands flopping everywhere. We see all his previous models. This one, he's just like melting down, and that's really it.
Well, it was a different substance, you know. The other one, he melted in hot lava, where this one was a corrosive acid.
That is true.
So there's something to be said about that, you know. We don't know.
All right, you've thought this through.
Well, I'm defending it because I like this movie.
I know you are. And then back there, down deep in there, after the T-1000's dead, and here we see Arnold's hands all fucked up, they take him to their own time displacement equipment, where they're like, hey, we got one shot, and we tell you where we're headed, August 29th.
One shot, one opportunity.
Yeah, you don't want to blow that. So we're going to August 29th, 1997.
But guess what?
Kyle has a hunch, because in his dream, he saw them say Genisys is Skynet, and that goes live in 2017. I think they said October something 2017.
Yeah, and I don't love the whole Genisys thing.
No, me neither. Although, I gotta admit, the storyline of Genisys does make sense in our modern world where everything is already connected.
Yes.
You're even in an ecosystem for your sound system.
Correct.
So everything is just intertwined, and it's just cool to see that they had a product launch for something that already exists nowadays. This is only a few years. This is 8 years old now, so.
Right. Yeah. So, was technology that crazy at that time?
I don't think that I think that we were almost to that point, because we're pretty much at that point now.
Yeah. No, we are.
So it wasn't that point.
Yeah, like the doctors and everything. Where my thing is going to connect to that, and that's going to connect to that, and I'll be totally online all the time. Like, why would you want that?
Why would you want that? Then you think about it, oh, we already are.
We are, but we aren't. You know, like, I mean, maybe you, but I don't even, I'm off the grid, I feel like. Well, not off the grid, but I don't look at my phone much. I'm not connected to every social media.
Well, no, but I'm saying, they were like with all their stuff connected. You have Apple CarPlay, you have an Apple TV, you have an Apple iPad, you have an Apple phone.
But that's... I mean, Apple CarPlay is not online.
But I'm just saying, everything is linked together, essentially.
Sort of.
Sort of. I mean, it's all there. I mean, it's not hard to find anyone nowadays.
No.
No one's really off the grid. You can't be. And that's actually what they explored in this movie, because when later on, we're not there yet, they're like, we have nothing on you, and that's impossible. So
right.
No one can really fully disappear. The days of the Unabomber are over. Jai Courtney and Emilia Clarke are down there, and he's like, listen, we're not going to 97. We delayed that shit. It's happening in 2017. I got the hookup. I got the jump on it. My dreams tell me this stuff. So you got to trust me. I'm from the future, as Matt likes to say. And you know what she does? All right. I'm swayed.
Well, okay, so in T1, it took a lot to convince Sarah Connor, because this is all foreign to her. She's like, what? They can't make that for years.
Not yet. Not for about 40 years.
This Sarah Connor has been living with a T-800 for how many years?
11 years.
11 years. So this is not that foreign.
No.
If Kyle Reese came from the future, and she probably already knows who Kyle Reese is from the T-800, she
knows Kyle Reese is coming.
More likely,
they planned on that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's probably more likely to believe him.
Yes, I could see how they got there fast. It just felt really fast. And again, the way he speaks, I just wouldn't believe a goddamn word that comes out of the man's mouth. But anyway, they go get naked in the lockers, and they have a nice little conversation, which actually, the acting here, again, Emilia Clarke, not bad. They get together, and the T-800 says, hey, I'll meet you guys there. I'm taking the long way.
We'll take the long way home.
All right?
Well, he has to take the long way because...
Can't cross over, because he's, for some reason, what was it? Oh, he would get too damaged, right?
No, because he was damaged. The only thing that can go through the time machine has to be completely sealed in living tissue. So he was all banged up, so he had metal parts exposed.
Gotcha.
That's why they can't bring guns, they can't bring clothes. It has to be... So
living flesh has to be on the outside.
So like... I don't know why they don't swallow like a plasma grenade or something, you know, and bring that with them.
I don't know either. That's a smart idea.
That's something they can do, or just grow some of the skin and encase some guns in it and bring a whole fucking suitcase of plasma guns. But they didn't do that, and we don't get that.
No.
But that's just me thinking outside the box, I guess.
But anyway, so they're going to meet up back in 2017. So he's going to stay back. He's going to get everything together. He's going to solve some problems in the next, 33 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And hey, all right, let's jump to 2017. And they fall through, but they land in the middle of the street. And this raises my question. Is Kyle Reese human?
What do you mean?
He's human, right? He's a human being, right? He's not a Terminator. He doesn't have Terminator underneath his skin.
Correct.
So he could just take full fucking hits from a car to his back and not even get a scratch on him? Because when they come through, he gets blasted by a car. He grabs her and gets literally full speed on the highway hit by a car.
He's a tough guy. He's a pretty tough guy.
Yeah, he's the toughest person ever because, yeah, they go to the ER from this, but again, they're both fine.
Yeah, you know. We're pretty far into the movie, so we can't have them too injured.
Yeah, I get it, but you didn't have to, like, literally, they fucking got blasted, and he flipped on the windshield and everything, and he doesn't even have a scratch on him.
Well,
Not a scratch.
He's a soldier,
Yeah.
so he knows how to take a hit.
I guess he does. I guess he does. And then this is when we see J.K. Simmons, my favorite part of this movie. And he's also the best actor in this movie by far. So he plays a cop from 1984 who saw all this happen. And he's been like...
O'Brien, right?
Yeah, and and he's like, everyone thinks he's a psycho. Why wouldn't you? He's talking about time and, there's no proof of this. And he says it's been 30-something years. And he's like, I saw it. And then finally he's like, I got the proof. Look at it. He's like, they just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and they're the same age.
Yeah, they look
exactly what I saw, how they looked like in 1984 or something like that. Yeah.
Yep. But no one believes him. So he goes upstairs. They kind of just blow him off, these FBI agents. And, they're like waiting for Homeland to like pass these guys over to. Because they don't want to deal with it. They're these cops. They're not in the mood to work. They just want this out of their hands and into somebody else's. So they head upstairs. And then this is where we finally meet John Connor.
And this is where the movie gets annoying for me. Why is he there? And why is he Homeland Security?
Well, he's not Homeland Security.
Sarah. No, she's right, Kyle. Lesson 1, trust no one.
He is there because he's the guy who created Genisys. He came from the past because basically Genisys sent somebody back in time. Genisys is the guy, Matthew Smith. He was basically there as a plant to grab John Connor, and he's their insurance policy to make sure Genisys goes through, which will save Skynet. So
right,
Genisys is only like 2 days away at this point.
Right.
But he's the guy who brought all this future tech to Genisys, and he's the reason why Genisys is even becoming it. He's the mastermind. He's the genius behind Genisys. But now that these guys came through, he knows who they are, obviously. It's his mother and his father. And he knows who a T-800 is because he's also a Terminator now, if you didn't know that. And they spoiled that in the trailer for you, that John Connor was the villain, in case you were wondering.
Right.
I don't know if you remember that.
I don't remember the trailer
I
much.
remember the garage scene where he comes back off the ground, which is pretty cool, and just shakes it off like
kind of
that.
like The Matrix.
Oh yeah, basically shot right out of the Matrix.
Yeah, I'm wearing a Matrix t-shirt.
I actually kind of like these scenes when he's like explaining, like, I thought we were going to get a family reunion, even though I already knew it.
Yeah.
I did like these moments. And then obviously it's over pretty fast when we find out, because the T-800 catches wind of him.
Right.
And he's like, he could see it. He's like, that's not John Connor.
No.
Well, it is John Connor, but it's not the John Connor you know.
Right. Yeah. So
he does a good job acting, though, Jason Clarke. That's the whole thing.
yeah, I'd say that, but again, I just don't.
And he's supposed to be a business-minded John Connor. Like I said, he's like in charge of the business. And I don't know if you noticed that, but did you notice his business partner, whose company that is, who owns the company that's producing Genisys?
No.
Skynet, Cyberdyne Systems.
Oh yes, it was Miles Dyson's son.
Yep.
Davey,
Donnie.
So swummy, slippy, slappy.
Danny. Yep, that's it.
Danny. Yep.
I was way off.
Like he didn't fucking learn anything.
No, you would think after all this time he would have learned no.
Stupid fuck.
So again, another Dyson, as if the first one didn't actually die. We have to deal with his son now. So the big plan is, at least for our heroes, that would be the T-800 Pops and why am I drawing a blank? Sarah Connor there. They are going to destroy this entire thing to prevent Genisys from happening.
Right.
So they're on a pretty tight schedule, but John Connor, like I said, he's the insurance policy. He has to make sure that this happens. That's his only goal here, is to make sure Genisys happens, and then basically, I guess they win?
Yeah, I mean, if Genisys goes online, then yeah, there's no stopping it, and it's inevitable, or whatever that word is.
Inevitable.
Yes, that one.
Yeah. But basically, after that, that big fight in the tunnel and everything like that. They head off.
Oh, in the parking garage, the fight.
Yeah.
Yes. They went back to, I think, the shelter.
Yes, they do.
Right? They went back to the gun shelter hideout.
The same shelter that they were in all those years ago.
And then Kyle Reese and Arnold are like having a race who can pack the clips faster.
Oh my God! What song were they playing? It was terrible. That scene was making me. I was getting.
I don't remember.
I guess he was trying to prove that just because you're a machine doesn't mean you're better than man, kind of deal.
Yeah, and then his hand locks up.
Yep. We know why. And that's exactly right after that they head off, and that's when they get the school bus. Okay, this is where because this is where it starts to get really bad. But I do love this scene. The school bus scene. What I'm talking about is they're on the highway, they're traveling, and then we see John traveling. He's the one who gets a helicopter. And they're following him. And this is what I was talking about, the helicopter effects, because later they're all in a helicopter, and this damn helicopter is it falls off the building, and it's going towards the street. Just as it's about to hit the ground, it does the most Fast and Furious thing on this side of Fast 7. Fucking almost hits the ground, and then it takes off just at the last second, and it looks like PS3 graphics.
Well, PS3 is... Nah, this was the 360 generation.
No, this was still PS3 and 360. No, it was this Xbox One came out in 2014, and this is 2015. So this is PS4 and Xbox One generation. So they get over to Cyberdyne Systems, and they start planting bombs. There's 4 parts of the building they have to plant these bombs. As they're planting the bombs, John Connor's still in pursuit. He's still ready. He's going to make sure that this does not happen.
Right.
It can't happen.
Can't happen.
Can't. So Jai Courtney, through this whole thing, is doing his best job trying to act, and I just don't believe a damn word that he is saying. Like I said, there's a lot of action towards the end of this, and it looks pretty good. It's acceptable. I really did enjoy the fight scenes on I guess that's the Golden Gate Bridge, right? I'm not mistaken.
They're in California.
They're in San Francisco, and I think that's the Golden Gate Bridge, right?
Yeah.
That looked awesome. And everything at the headquarters looked pretty good. I love the Terminator effects that John has. We didn't talk about it, but the way they stopped him first was using an MRI machine, so it's like...
yes, the magnets.
Magnets are able... the thing that they have to use to stop them. Regular bullets and everything, they just don't work.
And that's when Arnold made those magnet fucking gloves or knuckles or whatever the hell you want to call it.
He made that pretty quick, too, honestly.
Well, he knew to grab it from the speakers, because that's what a speaker is a big magnet.
For real?
That's what a speaker is. It's basically a magnet, yeah.
I had no idea. Wow. All right. I was wondering what he was taking out of there. I thought he was just taking wiring.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, speaker is basically a magnet.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
You never took speakers out of a car and then you stick it on something, they're just magnetic?
You've done all my speakers.
Oh.
As you probably...
That's how a speaker works. It sends signals to it. And
I got the signal thing, but I guess that makes sense. The T-800 and John, they're fighting and everything, and this is the big final battle because they're going to protect... Because, during this, Kyle and Sarah, they're trying to get away, and the T-800 tells them to get away and everything like that. They have this fight, and it looks like they're both dead. He stops John in that magnetic field, and I thought he was dead. I'm still a little confused how his body somehow got flung. Oh, yeah, he got flung during the explosions and miraculously survived, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. So, because they got in the bunker at the very last second as the building...
He was blown to safety.
Yeah, he was blown to safety. Somehow. Keep buying into how realistic this is, because the door closes. All summer blockbuster shit. The door closes at the very last second as we see the explosion coming towards them. And the Cyberdyne Systems is blown to smithereens.
Yes.
And like we just said, Pops, luckily he was brought to safety, and we have...
Blown to safety.
Blown to safety, and we see some shots of, I guess it's LA, and all the Genisys billboards and signs counting down. They got it just in the nick of time. Genisys doesn't go online, so unfortunately that kid who got that for his birthday is going to be very disappointed. Which I believe that was Kyle.
It was a younger Kyle,
Yep.
yes. Well, that was an alternate timeline, I believe.
Yeah, well, because Kyle doesn't remember this. He was born in after August 29th, 1997. This Kyle lived to 2017 in this world.
And they went and visited him.
Yeah, they did. That's how it ends.
Yep.
That's
how they get that straight line thing.
Yeah, that's where he got it from. That's how he always remembers it. Which also, again, just super cheesy. Super cheesy, that ending.
Yeah, a little bit.
You know, and then we get some voiceover from Jai Courtney doing the, basically closing out just like how Sarah Connor did in Tia 2. You know, the future isn't set. And there is a mid-credit scene that I wasn't aware of because, like I said, I became physically ill as the movie ended, and I had to run to the bathroom and vomit, so I turned the movie off. How'd you feel after coming out of that? You saw the mid-credit scene, right?
I did. Can we actually YouTube that real quick? Because I don't remember it.
Yep, alright, looks like we're watching it. Hold on 1 second. So this movie had the balls to give us a mid-credits scene to hype up a possible sequel where, you know what, it wasn't completely dead because we see a glowing red light, which looks like a Terminator eye, and to the right of it we see a blue outline, that AI that was also John Connor that we saw throughout the Cyberdyne systems towards the end there, just popping around.
Right, so they did not quite complete their mission as they thought they did. They didn't
fully defeat Genisys.
No, what is the quote? They didn't stop Judgment Day. They only postponed it.
Yep, again, because they had hopes that this would be the start of a brand new franchise. This was their first attempt at a reboot. Salvation, I guess, was supposed to continue in the storyline of 3.
So,
and then this was a full-fledged reboot of the franchise.
I believe so. Yep.
And then, you know, like I said, it didn't do too bad at the box office because there's fans of the Terminator franchise like me and Matt who will see it. Although I didn't see this in theaters.
Really?
No, I didn't catch this until...
Because you're not a true Terminator fan.
No, because I heard how bad it was, and I didn't want to be...
Doesn't matter.
I didn't want to be disappointed. But, I mean, they made up for it, because this movie, as bad as it was, and I still stand by the fact that coming out of this movie, I still hate this movie. I had a 2-star rating in the Letterboxd for my first view, and it stood at 2 stars, and I really want to give it a 1.5 stars, because Jai Courtney is just atrocious as a leading man. I'm glad that Hollywood, you know, finished that off, and we moved past him, and he's better in supporting roles, and the story itself is just stupid. They have just too many jokes in here. It just completely just does not work, and it's a waste of a great Arnold performance. I mean, not even a great, like it's not even a good Arnold performance. What am I saying? He's kind of phoning it in. Like, he does way better in almost every other Terminator movie.
I would not completely agree with you.
Okay.
I don't completely disagree, but I don't completely agree, as I do not hate this movie.
You gave this 4 stars.
I like it.
Yeah. Matt watched a movie last night that is really good. It's not my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. It's called The Hateful Eight. And Matt said he would have rather have watched Terminator Genisys than watch The Hateful Eight.
100%.
So gun to his head,
100%.
he's picking Terminator Genisys.
No question about it. No hesitation.
If it didn't cost me $18, I wanted to, for this video, I wanted to burn that on camera because that was that bad. It upset me how
You're
bad.
a crazy person. You are a crazy person.
And Matt owns it on Steelbook and in 4K. So Matt has had this twice.
Well, I just got the 4K recently because I didn't know it was on 4K until you told me.
And honestly, that's the most positive thing I can honestly say, because that's a 3-disc set, and it came with a digital code.
Yep. 3-disc set. Pretty good 4K.
Great 4K.
I think it's a decent upgrade over the Blu-ray. Nothing crazy, because it's a very good Blu-ray. But the 4K is even better. Even the Blu-ray itself had Dolby Atmos.
Yeah, which
is rare. You don't see too many Blu-rays that have Dolby Atmos.
And you went into your setup to pick your Atmos track. Did you notice them breaking down the description of the Atmos track? I think this must have been an early Atmos track. Like
Maybe.
On that Blu-ray from 2015, because I've never seen them do that where they were explaining what Atmos was. So like explaining how it was spreading to the speakers in the menus of I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I guess they were trying to tell people Atmos is the new stuff. That
and it's a nice steelbook too.
The steelbook is nice.
I like the steelbook.
Yeah.
Overall, I'm happy with it. I'm glad I have both. I'm glad I saw it in theaters. I'm glad I own it, and I will continue to watch this movie as I think it's a good movie.
I can't imagine I will be slipping this into the rotation anytime soon. Now, that's 2 times in my lifetime that I have been fooled into spending 2 hours and 6 minutes of watching this movie.
Is it 2 hours and 6 minutes?
It is 2 hours and 6 minutes.
It's an hour 25.
2 hours and 5 minutes.
Yeah, 125 minutes, I mean.
Yeah, I knew what you meant. It's just a bad movie, and I'm very sorry that you enjoy it that much.
I'm very sorry.
But I'm guessing that
you don't enjoy it.
Yeah, no, you're right. You should feel bad for me.
I do feel bad for you. You can't enjoy anything, it seems like. Anything that's good, you don't like.
That's not true at all.
You just like dialogue-heavy fucking foreign movies, and that's...
I mean, there's some good dialogue-heavy foreign movies out there. What do you want me to say?
I don't know. Just...
Better than this? You gotta admit, like, it's better than this.
What's better than this?
Some of the movies that I like
No way.
Alright, so after this, we had Terminator Dark Fate. Now, I'm going to save this. All our
Dark Fate is better.
Yeah, Dark Fate is better, right? Now, I'm going to put this into the rotation for next week's possible picks.
What?
Terminator Dark Fate.
Okay.
So maybe that'll get picked, and then we can talk about it more. But I do think... But Terminator Dark Fate was another reboot of the series. Mm-hmm. So this movie, just nothing. It's a standalone at this point. It's a complete...
Yeah.
Because it's nothing. They tried to set up a sequel.
It's like Halloween with all the different timelines.
Yeah, but this is a timeline on its own. I'm still a little confused on that part because T1 was about to happen.
It's not quite on its own.
Well, it interrupts the T1 timeline. So everything up to like when this T800 kills the younger T800. When that happens, I'm guessing that's when the timeline's split, but everything up to that's the same.
So you wouldn't say that T1 happened and then...
Well, T1 happened, but it's a different timeline, I would say.
But I'm saying if you were to put these movies, if you were to make a graph...
Yes.
And you wouldn't put T1 in the beginning of every single timeline?
No, I don't think T1 happens in this timeline at all. I think this is a complete standalone. But you have to understand T1 to get the opening, but if you just watch this movie alone, you wouldn't be completely lost.
No, I guess not.
You know, I think it's just...
That's up for debate, I guess.
It is.
I feel like I would still put T1 ahead of it. I think I would... If you were to do a proper watch through, I would say you have to watch T1 then Genisys. For there to be...
I think at this point, only movies that you have to put on every single year are the first two Terminators, and then everything else...
Well, I'm saying if you were doing this timeline watch through...
I guess you would want to watch Terminator 1 to have a full understanding of who Kyle
Like if
Reese
you
is.
did the Dark Fate, which would be the Sarah Connor trilogy, I guess, right?
T1, T2, and
then Dark Fate.
Yep, because in the other timeline, T1, T2, T3 Salvation, Sarah dies between T2 and T3.
Yes.
Of cancer. Which nobody picked T3 on here, and that Terminator 3 is better than Genisys, 110%. And you just watched them both.
It's a toss-up.
But you have a problem with Arnold's performance in 3.
They made him kind of silly.
But you don't think he's silly here?
No, not at all.
I mean, I guess he's serious in points, but I don't know.
He was a stripper. He fucking took the clothes from a stripper and he wore those fucking cute little glasses.
Yeah, the glasses didn't work. I also didn't like it when they slammed him with the fire truck and he's on the window.
Yeah.
And he has that stupid face on.
Yeah.
That was before the Governator, and then this movie's after the Governator. You know?
I forgot about that.
Right? It was a big deal. But yeah.
Yeah, so that is Terminator Genisys.
Yep. Let us know in the comment section, what did you think of Terminator Genisys? Are you a fan? Am I overreacting? Is Matt overreacting? Do you fall in the middle?
I want to address this as well. This is our new format, or well, one of our new formats, the half-assed movie reviews. Now, would you guys like us to be a little bit more organized with our movie selection, or do you like it to be all over the place? Like, we started with T2.
Oh, yes, good question.
In my opinion, I think we should have done T3 right after T2, then did Salvation, then did this, and then did Dark Fate. That's how I would have liked to do it. Or would you guys prefer us to just be all over the place like it kind of looks like it's going to be now? Just because I would have liked to kind of just keep them all together. Now we're out of order. Now it's weird to go back to T3.
Yeah, but I would like to do Dark Fate next. But the only question is, like you were just asking, is like we put it up for votes. So like it kind of takes away that audience interaction. But then again, like I guess it worked out for everybody except for me because I didn't want to watch Terminator Genisys, and now I've seen it again. But I was pulling for Dumb and Dumber. Can't believe that Terminator Genisys beat out Dumb and Dumber. A comedy classic.
So next week's options are going to be Jurassic Park: The Lost World, any of the Transformers movies, the Resident Evil movies, and one other John's favorites.
I will never. You'll have to get
Halloween Resurrection. That's going to be the 4 choices.
I like Halloween Resurrection more than any Transformers movie and The Lost World, I'll tell you that.
No, if I disagree with that. I guess I would say, because I love Resurrection.
I mean, Resurrection's, it's bad, but it's not the worst movie ever.
No.
It's just, it doesn't fit in with the rest of the Halloween movies. You know? I don't know. But anyway, enough of us rambling on about bad movies that Matt wants to force me to watch. I'll put some bad movies that I consider bad movies in the rotation of the I guess, the choices for you guys throughout the years, because I can't go every week doing a Transformers movie or a Resident Evil movie. I won't make it. Like, Matt will have to get guests to fill in for me, because I won't be able to
We're going to do a complete Michael Bay watch through.
See, Michael Bay, though, at least he's
amazing movies.
Bad Boys, The Rock, Armageddon is good. I like Pain and Gain. The most recent one he did, too, wasn't too bad.
Ambulance or
Ambulance.
6 Underground?
Ambulance. I never seen 6 Underground. Right? Okay. So
yeah.
Don't see 6.
And I'm a Michael Bay guy.
Yeah, and you.
Yeah.
Like, is that the only bad Michael Bay you'll say? Although I don't think you've seen 13 Hours yet, right?
Is that the one with John Krasinski? I have
John
that.
Krasinski, yeah.
I have that, but I haven't watched it. No.
Yeah.
I haven't been in the mood to watch that. I feel like I'm not gonna.
It's not your type.
And if you hear that, those are the dogs coming to say hi.
Yeah.
And with that.
That's about gonna do it here for us today on another episode of Half-Ass Movie Reviews. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, tell all your friends, like us on podcasts, give us a 5-star rating, and then get out there and tell all your friends about us.